A software engineer just posted something that's sending shockwaves through the developer community. They said, and I quote, that LLMs have made their entire career feel redundant. But here's the kicker, they're not alone. In the last 6 months, we're seeing an unprecedented change where the coding skills that took 5 to 10 years to build can now be replicated by AI in seconds. This isn't about robots stealing jobs in some distant future. This is happening right now. In real time, and honest technologists are finally talking about it publicly. The post from Human in the Loop dropped just days ago, and it's captured something the tech headlines have been dancing around. Large language models haven't just made coding faster, they've fundamentally broken the career ladder that entire generations of engineers climbed. Think about it like this. Imagine you spent a decade learning to be a master carpenter, and suddenly a machine can cut sand and assemble furniture better and cheaper than you ever could. That's the panic engineers are feeling right now. The worst part, most people in the industry saw this coming, but nobody wanted to say it out loud until someone finally did. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today, why your coding experience might not be worth what you thought, and what actually happens next in the software engineering world. To understand why this is happening now, you need to rewind about 18 months. GPT-4 dropped in March 2023, and then Claude came roaring in, and suddenly, almost overnight, you could give an AI a rough description of what you wanted, and it would write production-quality code. Not buggy code, not code that needed massive rewrites. Actual, usable, deployable code that worked right the first time. Before that, AI coding tools were assistants. They'd help you debug, they'd auto-complete your lines, they'd catch mistakes. But they weren't replacing the actual creative thinking, the architecture decisions, the problem-solving that made senior engineers valuable. Then something shifted. The models got so good at understanding context, at reading specifications, at inferring what you actually needed, that junior and mid-level developers started noticing, wait, I'm not solving the problem anymore. The AI is. I'm just asking it better questions. And if you can ask an AI better questions than a human junior developer can, why hire the junior developer at all? By early 2025, companies like Google, Meta, and others started quietly shifting hiring patterns. New grad hiring froze or went half speed. Mid-level positions evaporated. But senior engineers, the architects, the decision makers, they were still in demand. The middle collapsed. The skill tier that used to feed the pipeline, the entry-level and junior engineers who were supposed to grow into seniors, they hit a wall that nobody built a ramp for. And that's when the frustration really started boiling over. Here's where it gets complicated. When you're learning to code, you don't actually learn by watching AI write code. You learn by struggling, failing, debugging, and slowly building intuition about how systems work. That struggle is the whole point. It's messy and slow and frustrating, but it's how your brain actually absorbs programming logic. Now imagine you're a company manager and you have a choice. Hire a junior developer. Wait 18 months while they stumble through projects and slow down senior engineers as mentors, or just buy Claude or GPT-4 API access for a fraction of the salary and get the code written by next week. Most companies are choosing the latter. This creates a vicious cycle. Fewer junior positions means fewer people get the chance to learn through real-world project experience. Fewer experienced mentors means the people who do get junior roles have almost no guidance. And the LLMs keep getting better, so the threshold for good enough AI keeps dropping lower. A software engineer wrote recently that they are now spending 70% of their day managing AI output instead of writing code themselves. They're becoming a coordinator, checking what the model produced, asking it to refine things, debugging AI hallucinations instead of writing original solutions. Is that still engineering, or is it something else entirely? The brutal honesty from the community right now is this: if your job is write code that satisfies a clear specification, your job is functionally gone. You're competing against a tool that doesn't sleep, doesn't demand benefits, and improves every 3 months. But if your job requires judgment, system design, or understanding what a specification should actually be, you're still valuable. For now, this isn't theoretical. Real engineers are posting about what's actually happening in their careers right now. One mid-level developer said that in their company's code review process, they noticed something alarming. AI-generated code is passing reviews, because it's well-written and functionally correct, but nobody's learning from it anymore. The junior developers who review it aren't building expertise. They're just rubber stamping. Another engineer posted that they were laid off alongside their entire junior cohort, 8 people, and replaced by 3 senior engineers who now use Claude for 60% of feature implementation. The company saved money. The features ship. Nobody's building the next generation of senior engineers. We are seeing a startup that was founded on the principle of we hire brilliant young engineers and grow them completely reverse course this year because the math changed. They realized that growing someone from junior to senior took 5 to 7 years and millions in salary investment. Buying API access and hiring senior only takes months and costs a fraction as much per year. One honest CTO wrote that they feel guilty because they've stopped hiring juniors. They know it's bad for the industry long-term, but they can't justify the cost and time when LLMs exist. That's the tension everyone's feeling. Companies want to survive quarterly reviews. The industry wants to sustain itself. Those two goals are now in direct conflict, and right now, quarterly reviews are winning. Here's a comparison that'll make you uncomfortable. In the 1980s, when personal computers arrived, they didn't destroy the accounting profession, but they absolutely demolished the accountant career ladder. Before computers, you had hundreds of thousands of junior bookkeepers and accountants doing manual calculations, reconciliations, data entry, all foundational work that taught you how numbers flowed through a business. The computers automated all of it. Senior accountants, they transitioned to strategy, analysis, audit, forensics, things machines couldn't do, but the junior tier got cut in half. The career path narrowed. Young people who wanted to learn accounting had fewer entry routes. That took decades to stabilize, and many argue it still hasn't fully recovered. What we're watching with software engineering could follow that exact pattern, but faster, much faster. With accounting, the transition took 20 years. With AI, we are talking 5. The difference is speed. When change happens at generational pace, industries adapt. When it happens at light speed, people get left behind. And here's the comparison most people won't touch. This might not be a disaster. If the junior tier compresses from, say, hundreds of thousands of junior developers globally to 10,000, and those 10,000 become brutal, ultra-competitive screening tests, only the most brilliant, most passionate, most stubborn people get through. Maybe that's actually okay. Maybe the industry gets leaner, faster, better. Or maybe it means we lose an entire generation of knowledge transfer, mentorship, and the weird creative friction that comes from junior engineers asking dumb questions that lead to breakthrough insights. We don't actually know yet. We're living through the experiment right now. This isn't just about whether junior developers can find jobs. This ripples outward in ways that nobody's really discussing. First, the startup ecosystem is about to change dramatically. For the last 15 years, startups thrived by hiring smart junior engineers, teaching them aggressively, and watching them become senior engineers who could then lead teams. That compressed learning cycle is how startups punched above their weight against big tech companies. Eliminate that, and startups can't scale as fast. They become more like consulting shops, hire seniors to build stuff, then they leave. No institutional knowledge, no culture built through mentorship. Second, innovation is going to get weird. A lot of technological breakthroughs come from junior engineers who don't yet know what's impossible in their field. They try things that are theoretically bad, and sometimes those bad ideas lead somewhere. When you only hire senior engineers, you lose that chaos, you get optimization, you lose exploration. Third, and maybe most important, we are about to see a massive quality of life issue. Software engineering right now is one of the best-paying entry-level careers on the planet. You can walk out of a boot camp and make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. That's not true in most fields. If that door closes, if the only way into software engineering is to already be proven and experienced, then the economic mobility that brought diversity into tech will evaporate. The industry will become even more insular, more connected to people who know people, more homogeneous. And frankly, that's a crisis that's way bigger than salary compression. So if you're a software engineer reading the tea leaves right now, what do you actually do? The people who are thriving in this environment are making a few moves. First, they are specializing hard. Instead of being a full-stack developer, they're becoming experts in system design, architecture decisions, scaling problems, the stuff LLMs still struggle with. They're learning the business logic of their industry so deeply that they become irreplaceable in their specific context. Second, they are shifting toward management and mentorship sooner. If you can't compete with AI at pure coding, you compete in human leadership. You become the person who knows how to ask the right questions, how to extract maximum value from AI tools, how to lead teams of engineers and AI systems in tandem. Third, they're moving into AI safety, AI tooling, and building the next generation of models themselves. This sounds like joining the thing that's destroying your job, but actually, the people building LLMs and making them better are some of the most in-demand, highest-paid engineers right now. If you can't beat them, be them. Fourth, and honestly, this might be the smartest move. Some senior engineers are starting their own consulting or agency shops where they sell their judgment and architectural expertise to companies that need guidance. They're becoming coaches to organizations trying to integrate AI tools correctly. None of these paths look like write code for 40 years and retire comfortably. They all require adapting, learning new skills, sometimes taking a step sideways in your career to reposition. But that's the reality of what's happening right now. Here's what this all means for you, whether you're learning to code, running an engineering team, or just trying to understand what's happening in tech. This isn't a doomsday scenario. Engineering careers won't vanish, but the shape of the career ladder is changing right now, and pretending it isn't is how you get blindsided. If you're a junior developer or thinking about becoming one, the entry-level job market is going to get tougher. But the solution isn't to give up. It's to get really clear on what makes you irreplaceable. Learn the business, build judgment, ask better questions than an AI can. If you're hiring, recognize that your junior engineer investment used to train the seniors of tomorrow. If you cut it, you don't just cut costs, you cut your future leadership pipeline. That catches up with you. If you're a senior engineer, this is actually your moment. Your value just went up. But so did expectations. Learn to leverage AI tools, not fear them. The engineers thriving right now are the ones who see LLMs as a multiplier, not a replacement. And here's the honest part that the original post nailed. The industry needs to have this conversation openly, not in private Slack messages, not in buried Reddit threads, but in the open. Companies need to think about what long-term innovation looks like if you stop investing in junior engineers. Bootcamps need to adapt their curriculums to teach judgment and system thinking instead of syntax. Universities need to rethink what computer science education should even be anymore. And every engineer needs to get brutally honest about what parts of your job an LLM can actually do better and build your career around everything else. The future of software engineering isn't gone. It's just different. And if you're not preparing for different right now, you're going to wake up in 2 years wondering what happened. Follow for daily AI news to stay ahead of these changes as they actually unfold.